Okay, so welcome everyone to looking at learning technologies at UBC. For new students, welcome to UBC. Very excited to have you here, especially in our Faculty of Education. Today, myself, Gabrielle Coombs, will be presenting. I am a learning technologist at the Faculty of Education's ETS unit, and I'm joined by my lovely colleague, Eduardo. Eduardo, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Gabby. Hi, everyone. My name is Eduardo Rebagliati, and I am the Learning Technology Specialist at UBC at ETS. So thank you all for coming, and welcome to all the new students.
Okay. So before we dive into what we'll be looking at today, of course, we would like to acknowledge that UBC Vancouver is situated on the traditional unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. If you would like, we would really like to encourage people to also share where you are joining us today, the traditional lands that you might be joining us from in the chat. But again, we are really lucky and privileged to be able to work from the lands of the moment at Point Grey, Musqueam land. So thank you everyone for joining us. So learning technologies at UBC, we're going to go through quite a few things today. We're going to start with a bit of an introduction to UBC's technology ecosystem, some of the places that you might be able to find support if you're using technology in your studies. Then we're going to be having a look at Canvas, which is UBC's learning management system. If you've used other learning management systems before, maybe like Moodle or Blackboard, you might be familiar with something like Canvas, but we'll have a look through it. We'll also be looking at another useful tool that UBC provides, which is MS Teams. And then we'll be going through some resources which would be really useful for students as well. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Eduardo, who's going to get started looking at the UBC technology ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Gabby. So yeah, let's look at the UBC technology ecosystem. So this is a brief review of the different technologies you'll be working with and also how you can get support at UBC, technological support we mean. So the UBC technology ecosystem. First of all, you will find Canvas. So Canvas is our LMS, and it's the primary learning management system at UBC. It's the platform you'll engage with for online learning at UBC, and your instructors may use Canvas to communicate, share course materials, and assign learning activities for you to do. You can use features in Canvas to help keep track of your work, collaborate with classmates, and preview your grades as well. And then in this presentation later on, Gabby is going to explain in detail. We'll go into more depth into Canvas. So that's the first one. Then, of course, another technology you'll be using is, of course, UBC email. So the UBC student email address, you will get access to one of these. And it will basically consist of your CWL username at student.ubc.ca. I imagine like most of you already have that, but if you don't, you can go to the link we'll be sharing in the chat, and then you can access all the instructions to get that set up. So I'll share it right now, actually, it's here. There you go. And once you have these accounts, this will give you access to Microsoft Teams, which is something we'll be looking at in this presentation as well, and also to OneDrive. And in OneDrive, which I strongly recommend you get access to, because you will get access to 1 terabyte of memory, of cloud storage. Okay, then we have MS Teams, which I'll be explaining later on in this presentation. But basically, this is the all-in-one collaboration tool to create virtual meeting spaces and facilitate group work. So it's a great tool. It has some similarities with Zoom, of course, or Google Drive, if you use that all together in one place. We'll look at that later on. Then you will also come across UBC Blocks, which is the interactive website building platform where you can create sites for sharing content. It uses the website building software WordPress, which I guess many of you are familiar with. And if not, it's a very intuitive, very easy to use platform. And I can imagine you will encounter this in many courses in your UBC experience. So you can use this to create a website or a group blog, peer-reviewed space, or a personal portfolio. So these are some of the technologies. There are a couple of more, but these are like the basic technologies that you will be encountering and using at UBC. Then something that we wanted to cover in this presentation is the tech support, because like many times, I guess, you will need tech support. And there are actually 2 units that you can connect with to get the support. For example, we at ETS, we actually provide support mostly for instructors, really. But we have other units at UBC that provide support for students. So one of them is IT, of course. And I'm going to share right now the website, and I'm going to go into the website and show you where you could like find the most useful pages within the website. So for example, let's go into the IT website. And I would say, basically, you want to go to 2 places. First of all, services. If you want to learn some of the services, technological services that IT provides to UBC people, this can be for students and also instructors and staff. Maybe for us as students, it would be most useful to go to this particular section, which is teaching and learning tools. And here we find Canvas, the survey tool, which is Qualtrics, and Zoom video conferencing. But most importantly, if we go to support, this is where you will want to go whenever you have some technical issue. So the technical issues can be like problems related to the CWL, which is often happens, then wireless connection, things related to Canvas, issues you may encounter with Canvas, like with a course or something, and then the mail as well, and other technologies. And the best way I would say to connect with IT is using their contact form. So here you would just go to this page and then go to web form if you're in Vancouver, and if you're in Okanagan, just go to this one. And this will allow you to file a ticket, put in your information, your name, CWL, and then you can go into the specific issue that you're having. So that's IT, and then let's go back here. Then we have Lte Hub. So Lte Hub, Learning Technology Hub, they have a lot of provide a lot of support, and they have a lot of interesting resources. So let's look at their website and also look at things that might be interesting for us. So here we are. And I would say the first of all, in the home, you'll find a place to connect to get support. And just one thing, they have like support for instructors and students. So we definitely want to connect, reach out for students in this case. I'll show it soon where that is exactly. But something that is interesting here is the tool guides. So if we go to tool guides, we'll find the different guides they have for the technologies that we use at UBC. And, oh no, sorry, excuse me. First, I wanted to see this one. So student support, this is the one that is most relevant to us. So here you can go into getting the technology support that you might need as you're at UBC. It could be something that could also be solved by IT, so you can approach either of them. And then, really interesting to see is the student tool guide. So if you go here, that's what I was mentioning a few minutes ago, you'll find some interesting guides to the different technologies that we use at UBC. Some of them I already mentioned, like Canvas, but you will also find instructions on how to start using OneDrive, for example, which I mentioned also a couple of minutes ago, Teams, Zoom, and other UBC tools that might be of your interest. So I'm going to share this link as well if you want to go directly to this page. And I think it would be good for you if you're starting to just like spend a couple of minutes reading through these different tools so you can get an idea of what they are, what you can do with them, and how you can access them and download them as well. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the ecosystem. I hope this was good to know, and always remember to check out those things if you want to navigate through this content. Now we'll go back to Gabby, who will explain Canvas now.
Great. Okay, thanks, Eduardo. So again, if there are any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I can see a few people have asked questions already, so thank you for asking. Love a question. So let's get into Canvas. So Canvas is UBC's online platform for course materials primarily. Often if you're doing face-to-face courses, you may not have Canvas, but a lot of the time there will be a Canvas course, and with a lot of course information, course materials, and other things there too. So we are using Canvas to check things like course dates. If you have an assignment that you want to submit, often that will be done over Canvas, and also to access things like readings and other materials. Usually Canvas is the place for that. So we're going to take a bit of a look at Canvas as a platform. Before we jump into MS Teams. So the website for Canvas is canvas.ubc.ca. This is a CWL login. So again, if you have your CWL, you can log into Canvas and access everything that you are enrolled in. So you can see for me, this is the landing page for Canvas. I have my dashboard where I have my courses. And you'll see that on the dashboard as well that you often have to-do lists. So this will let you know if you have anything in your courses that you need to do or to submit, any tasks that you need to do. You also have access to your calendar. So again, if you have anything that is coming up, your dashboard is a great place to get oriented with what's coming up in your week or your term. So this is the landing page. If you are ever trying to find any courses maybe that you've already taken in the past, or maybe you want to have an idea of what you might be enrolled in the future, you'll also see in the side navigation menu that we have this option called courses. So if you click on courses, you'll see that I have the courses that are listed here on my dashboard, but then I also have below this all courses option. So if I click here, you can see that I have a lot of courses that I've been enrolled in or involved in, and they're all listed here. So if I'm ever trying to find a course that maybe isn't showing up on my dashboard, this would be the place to find it. You'll also notice that there are some stars on the side. So these stars can be used to customize your dashboard. So if you find that maybe you've got a lot of different stuff on Canvas and you would like to organize it, you can use these stars to remove items from your dashboard or add items. So for example, this Gabrielle sandbox here, if I wanted to remove it, I would unclick the star. If I wanted to add it to my dashboard, I would click it back. And then I can go into dashboard to find that course. So again, if you are trying to find a course that you have access to, but it's not showing up in your dashboard, go to courses and then all courses. So one thing that I think is a really nice way to sort of get yourself acclimatized to Canvas is to go in and play with the settings a little bit. So if you click on the account option, you'll see that you have a few different choices here. So let's jump into profile. This is a nice way for you to, if you're comfortable, you can have a photo of yourself. You can also add a biography or any links. So if you have a website that you like to share with your classmates, you can always add that there. And if you'd like to edit it, maybe change your picture, you can click edit profile. I could change my picture if I'd like to. I can upload, and then I can add information here. So updating your profile again is just a nice way to announce your presence on Canvas. You'll notice too that with my name, I also have my pronouns. So again, if this is something that you would like to do, you can change your pronouns on Canvas by going into settings. So if I click here, again, I would be in account and then settings. And then in settings, I have options for editing my pronouns. So I can choose my default email as well. So if, for example, you would prefer to get emails from Canvas to your personal email, you can change your default email to a personal one. Or if you would prefer it to go to your UBC email, you can change your default email. You can also add further email addresses to your Canvas account, depending on your preferences. Again, for pronouns, if you'd like to change them, there is a list of options here. If you would prefer to use different pronouns than the ones that are available, you do have the option that is, please ask me for my pronouns. So that's an option. Again, if you would prefer not to show your pronouns, you can have none. But again, this is nice as a way to sort of, again, introduce yourself to people on Canvas if you would like. And then anytime I make any changes here, I'm going to update my settings. Something else that you might like to consider doing is updating your notifications. If you've logged onto Canvas before, you might notice that Canvas sends a lot of emails about lots of different things. And this is a nice way for you to customize what notifications you're receiving via email from Canvas. What I would say is it's good to have some notifications turned on, particularly for things like a due date. And what you can do is you can choose which email you prefer for it to go to. And then here you can choose how frequently you'd like to be notified. So for example, say my instructor gives an extension to everyone in the course on an assignment and they've changed the due date to a week in the future. It might be nice for me to have that notification come through immediately. But for other things, for example, maybe if there has been late grading or something else, or if it's, for example, with discussions or something on Canvas, and maybe I just want to have a weekly summary, I could do that too. So there are, again, lots of options for customizing your notifications. I would say try not to turn all of them off, tempting though it may be, because it is a really convenient way for you to know what's happening on Canvas if you haven't logged in. So again, for things like due dates, I would definitely recommend keeping that notification on, but there is a lot of option for customization. I just saw from Andrew that the default email option doesn't appear in your profile edit screen. Nope, it's in a different place. Great, good to hear. You're able to find it. Okay, so that is some account settings that you can play around with, and we'll head back to our dashboard. Now, yours might seem a little different from mine as I have different Canvas access, but on your dashboard, this is where you would access your courses. So if I wanted to get into one of my courses, I would click on the dashboard tile and it will take me to my course. So in this case, and this is one of the resources that we will talk about later today, but in this course, in courses, you'll be able to navigate using just pop into student view for a moment, a side menu. Usually in this side menu, you will have options such as modules for content. You might also have assignments as an option too. And you can navigate through the course using this side menu. Some courses will have buttons on their homepage, much like this one does. But if you're trying to navigate through, you can use the side menu here. Another useful feature of Canvas that I would recommend getting comfortable using would be the inbox. Again, this is something that your instructor might be using to contact you if you would like, or for you to contact your instructor or your classmates. So it functions much in the same way as another email inbox would. You start by composing something. You can choose which course or again, who you're sending it to, a subject, and then the contents of your message and sending it, much like an email. And then you would receive it in your Canvas inbox here if you've received an email. And again, another nice feature too is the calendar function. This is a nice place where you can see all of your courses and due dates. So if you head into calendar, what you'll see is the list of courses that you're enrolled in. Again, I've got a lot because I'm here all the time, but you'll see also the events that are relevant to your course or whatever it might be show up in your calendar. And then you can hide particular ones just by clicking on these side checkboxes to see what's due. So again, this is a nice way for you to stay organized, to look at what's coming up, what's due, and to maybe plan a little bit for your term so that you are familiar with when due dates are and when you need to submit materials to your course. I just saw from Thomas that there are no courses in the calendar. This might be because the course materials haven't been released yet. So what will happen when your courses begin? They will suddenly become available on Canvas, and then when you head into the calendar, you will have that course list. If the course hasn't been opened yet, that would be why you might not be able to see this on your calendar. Okay, and I think in terms of Canvas, one other useful thing would be looking into how to submit work. We'll go into that when we have a look at our student resources, because we have a few practice assignments that you can do there if you want to get comfortable. But for now, I'm going to switch back to Eduardo so he can go through MS Teams. Oh, I think you're muted, Eduardo.
Well, sorry about that. Yeah, I was saying, thank you, Gabby. Yeah, it's great. I think Canvas is a fantastic platform, and I myself am a student at UBC. And yeah, I would say that setting up the notifications is really important, and because you can get like too much of them or maybe like too little. So play with those and it will maximize your experience. Okay, so now if we go into MS Teams. So MS Teams, you won't be using MS Teams as much as Canvas, I think, but it's worth to look at and understand how it works. And I'm guessing that most of us have experience using, for example, Google Drive and also like Zoom. So it has many similarities with that, but all in one platform. So in Teams, you can meet and collaborate with your peers, your instructor also through web conferencing and group chat. So you can, oops, sorry about that. And it's an excellent place where you can also collaborate sharing files and working in groups, changing the content of the different files, such as Word files and Excel and PowerPoint. So I'm just going to quickly show you how that looks. I'm going to go into Teams right now. And I'm here in my account of Teams. So you can see I have access to different teams I use when I work here at UBC. And this, for you, might be like different courses that are using Teams in your experience. So I'm just going to go to one of them. And usually when you access the team, you will find that we have different channels. So these channels are used to organize the course content you'll be working on. For example, something could be if in a team for a course, you have like different groups. Maybe the instructor has created different channels for each group. So then you go to the channel and you find there all the documents that you're working on with your group. And then I'm going to go to one of the channels. So that's this one. And basically, it's a very simple interface. You have like two different windows. The first one is post. So this is like a chat where people can post messages, kind of like a Facebook wall. So you can conversate with all the group in the specific channel. And then most importantly, you have the files window. So here in the files window, you can create folders, and in the folders, you can create documents that you can use for collaboration. So for example, if I go, let's say this is a group channel and we're working on an assignment. So we can create a folder of that assignment, assignment 1. And then here we can go into new and create different kind of documents. So I don't know, for example, if we're just doing like brainstorming to begin on this assignment, we could create a Word document. Let's say and this is your typical Word document where you can go in and start creating the content with your peers. And you can do the same thing with Excel and PowerPoint, for example, if you're working now in the presentation of the assignment. So very useful in that sense. And of course, you can also upload things. So you can upload videos and images and all different kind of files for sharing. And then, so that's basically what you'll find in each channel and in each folder within a channel. But then the platform also has like some useful functionalities. So one of them, for example, is the chat. And here in the chat, you can connect with someone from the group or even like from different groups and sometimes even different channels. So I can go, as you can see, I have some chats here, people I work with, but in the context of a student could be like with peers. And you can always like share content here, and you can create channels within the chat as well. So you can have also documents that relate to the chat, which is very interesting. This allows you to communicate in a private way instead of using the wall that we saw a couple of minutes ago. So we have the chat, then we also have the calls. This is like Zoom, basically. So conferencing. So here's Gabrielle, for example, I could call her right now and we could have a video call to discuss the project we're working on. And then I think, oh, and files. And then this one, files, you'll see all the different files related to the channels and courses you might be in. But I wanted to show this because here you'll find your OneDrive. So as I mentioned, I recommend getting OneDrive, which is available for you at UBC, because this will give you 1 terabyte of cloud storage. So I use this a lot, for example, to upload documents and organize myself. So you will find it here also in Teams. And yeah, I think that's pretty much for the overview on Teams. Now we'll continue with that. Okay.
Okay, so as well as Teams, there are some other software options for students to gain access to. We'll go through how to access all of this software in a moment, but some things that you'll have access to are things like Microsoft 365, again, through MS Teams. So if you are looking for word processing, the ability to create PowerPoint presentations, Excel spreadsheets, and so on, you will have access to Microsoft 365. You also will have access to some video editing software, things like Snagit, which is a really useful screen capturing software that is made by a company called TechSmith. You also have access to something called Camtasia, which is a video editing software. So both of these could be really useful if you are submitting a presentation for an online course, if you'd like to make a video for one of your assignments, or if you would just like to have a play around with video editing software, it is available for you. After that, we will be having a look at these e-learning resources and go through some of the different pages that we have available for you to get in touch with maybe some of the tools that you could be using in your course. Okay, so let's have a look at software distribution. So again, if you go onto Canvas, you should find in Help. So again, I'm on my dashboard page. If I go to Help, you'll have a lot of options here, but one of them should be software distribution. So what my software distribution will look like is probably going to be a little different to maybe what yours will look like. But in this, it's going to ask me to do something. See if it'll let me match this one and see if it'll let me in. It's going to keep doing it. Let's see what happens. Okay, so this is what it will look like. You'll see what things are available for you, and you can search what products are available for you as well. So for this account, I don't think there will be much, but if you're logging in as a student, you will be able to find those particular software options. There are other options as well. So again, this is CWL login. And within that, you'll be able to see the list of what's available. So I know, for example, if you are doing something that is involving statistics, students have access to SPSS and NVivo. I, as a staff member, have access to a few things that maybe students don't, but you'll see here that things like Camtasia and Snagit are available, SPSS, and then what you would do is you would click on whatever it is you're looking to download. You'll see that it's free, and then you can see whether you're eligible, system requirements, and so on. Usually, if, for example, I wanted to add it to my cart, I could do that. And then once that's happened, I've already ordered Snagit because I do use it. But once that's happened, you can download the version. If you're using Windows, you would download the Windows version, Mac, the Mac version, and be able to download it from here. So again, this resource is really helpful in terms of finding access to those tools that often you might find lots of instructions on how to use the tools, but maybe not how to download the tools. So again, if you're on Canvas, you're going to click on Help and then Software Distribution. Nicely, they have a little thing for contacting Lte Hub. So again, if you are finding that you're struggling with any of these tools that you're using, or you have any questions about them, you can contact Lte Hub directly. So they do have their website, which we shared earlier, but you can also email them at lt.hub@ubc.ca if you run into any issues. So the other resource we'd like to have a look at now is our e-learning help resources. You will find, and I will put the link to this in the chat, you can join this course. And I'm going to jump into student view so that we're looking at it from the student perspective. But this is a resource that our unit has developed over time to allow students in the Faculty of Education a little bit of support and assistance in accessing some of the really common learning technologies at UBC. So what we'll do is jump into the modules. Sorry, I had a question from Melissa. If you're on campus, would that be for, sorry, Melissa, your question, the process for downloading or for something else? Okay, all good, thanks. No problem. Okay, so let's jump into the modules. So if you have a look here, we have some helpful links and phone numbers. So if you are ever trying to get assistance and you don't know where to go, this is a great resource for you. You can also have a look at some important information about our course policies here, and some also extra information about accessibility. So you can see here we have contacts for IT, for Lte Hub, academic guides, Center for Accessibility, and so on. So this is quite helpful. You'll also notice in the modules page that we have some resources on learning online. So if you are somebody who is taking your courses online, or if you're using learning technologies online, this can be really helpful. We also have some Canvas basic stuff. Before we finish up, I will have a look at the assignment just to show you an example of how you can submit. But yes, there's a lot of information on Canvas here. And then as well as that, we have Locker. So that would be how you would access your course readings. Information on how to do that is here if you need it. So we have some, again, some short instructions on how to access your course readings and a few other tools as well. We have some, again, information about Zoom and MS Teams, about using Canvas ePortfolios, about using blogs, which Eduardo mentioned earlier, as well as some of the other video tools, Camtasia and Snagit, which I've already mentioned, but we also have Kaltura, which is a very useful video editing and storage option. And then as well, a few other tools, Turnitin, Threads. We are updating this regularly. So if you go in and you find some stuff that's useful now, check back regularly, we do update it. So there might be something new in here for you if you are looking for some assistance with some of the tools that you might be using in your course. So before we move on, what I would like to do is sort of demonstrate one of the key features that you will probably be using Canvas for, which is for assignments. So you'll see in this Canvas module here that we have submit an assignment. So I'm going to click here. And you'll see here that this is what an assignment on Canvas will look like. We have some instructions, a due date, some points, and how I'm supposed to submit. And you'll notice in the top right, we have this start assignments option. So for GA, we can add a link to your course if you'd like, or you can copy the modules in. We can talk about that in a moment. So if you're looking at starting an assignment, you would click here. You'll see at the bottom, you then have options for what you would like to upload. So for me, I'm going to quickly upload a file. I'll choose a file from my computer. Okay, let's just choose this. Okay, so I've got my assignment here. And then when I'm happy with what I have, I can submit. Canvas is nice and usually will give you some kind of confetti or something to let you know that you've successfully submitted. And then you'll have information on the side here as well, so that you've submitted, you've got your details and you have the file here. Again, if you wanted to resubmit, often you will have the option for a new attempt. And usually, even if there is a due date, provided that your instructor hasn't put any parameters, even if it's past the due date and you have to submit late, you should still be able to submit your assignment in the same place. So this is how you would submit an assignment. Again, if you're looking for when your instructor is giving you feedback or your grades, that will also all be available on Canvas as well. Okay. So that is our e-learning resources and going through some of the other resources that are available to you at UBC as students. What we did want to do is spend a pretty chunk of this session fielding any questions that you might have. No question is too big or too small. We have gone pretty fast over quite a few different technologies at UBC. So if you'd like to ask a question, you can raise your hand using the raise hand function on Zoom. Alternatively, you can just jump right in, unmute yourself and ask a question. But Eduardo and myself are pretty knowledgeable about the tech at UBC. So if you have any questions, queries, or anxieties, now is the time to ask.
Yeah, you can also post questions in the chat if you prefer that. And just one thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about Teams, I'm sharing a link right now that you can access that link and you'll find where to download the application and how to install it. Okay, so we have a question by Anissa.
Yes.
Yeah. So do we get access to a pro Zoom account?
That's a good question. I know that faculty do. I want to say that students do as well. But what would normally happen if you wanted to get access to a Pro Zoom account would be to contact AV, which is part of IT as well. So with that, you would contact, and I'll put their email address in the chat. So it's av.helpdesk@ubc.ca. And then you would request that a Zoom account is attached to your UBC email. It will have to be attached to your UBC email if you would like to gain access to that. We have a few more questions in the chat too, but I can see that Andrew has a hand raised. Andrew, would you like to ask a question?
Sure, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
I had a question about logging in and single sign-on. So
yes.
Everything seems to be through campus-wide login. So
yes.
If I was to, like at the start of a session, so I open my browser and I log in anywhere that requires campus-wide login, does that mean that, do I then have to log into Canvas and into everything else, or am I automatically logged into those things?
That's a good question. What I would say is, generally speaking, if you're on the same browser and you're navigating from Canvas to another program, so for example, when I was trying earlier to access that software distribution, I was logged in a different account, and that's why it kept taking me to that other account. But usually if you're logged in on that account on Canvas, it should automatically log you in. That being said, a lot of the time, if that doesn't happen, because it's just the same login information for everything, you might have to log in again. I know for the library, for example, you may need to, but usually if you're coming from Canvas, you've logged into Canvas, it will automatically log you in the other programs that are using CWL.
Yeah,
great, thank you.
And I also, to add to that, and I think like once you log in, then it will obviously not ask you to log in. As you're opening like new browsers, new windows in the browsers, like everything will catch the information that you already put. And something that I do is, of course, I save the password into my computer, so I just have to log in once and then the computer remembers it.
Okay, great. So I see that Adrienne has asked about Snagit. Why would you use something like Snagit compared to simply taking a screenshot? Eduardo, what do you think? Why would somebody use Snagit over, for example? So I use I'm using a Mac, and I often use the Mac screenshot function. Why would maybe Snagit be a different or a better option?
Well, maybe if you want screen capturing, I'm thinking what could be one of the possibilities.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. What I would say is that it's not just screenshots, it's screen capturing too. So for example, if you wanted to just take a screenshot, I know for me, I just use the Mac function, but if I wanted to take like a short screen capture, if I'm making a GIF or a GIF or something, or if I wanted to edit them a little more, Snagit's a really good option. But it would probably be, yes, and I can see Nicola's answering for me as well. You can annotate a screenshot in Snagit, thank you. Yeah, just the functionality is a little broader. So, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with using like the snipping tool if you're using a PC or using the Mac screen cap tool. But again, Snagit provides a little bit more flexibility, more functionality, and the option for video screen recording as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We also have a question from Jennifer about modules under courses did not have the same categories that I displayed. So maybe Jennifer, you might need to let me know in a bit more detail what you mean.
Yeah, I may have been under the wrong web page, I guess you call it. I'm under a course cohort, and then I have home, announcements, modules, discussions, my media, and people.
In the side menu?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so each course on Canvas is very customizable, and the side menu is one of the things that your instructor can customize depending on the sort of needs of the course. So in this case, because this is our e-learning help, we don't really have any assignments for it. This is just a resource for you guys, so we removed that option from the side. However, if you're in one of your regular courses, you'll probably have a lot more options like modules and syllabus and people and all of those things that you just mentioned. So you will see some differences between the way that your Canvas pages look, whether it's from a design perspective or what options are available. This is a very pared down Canvas course in terms of what you can access. Sorry, Nicola, I saw you had your hand up as well. Sorry, Jennifer, before I jump into Nicola's question though, did that answer your question?
Not really. But I appreciate
so just in terms of
the information, which is additional to what I was looking for. When I press on modules, and I go to, and it brings up all the categories.
Yep.
The categories that I had, it says welcome to the cohort, electives, UBC card. I didn't have any of the submit or Canvas or. Yeah,
again, because it's a different course. And again, if you jump into your dashboard, each course is different.
Yeah.
So for example, if you're in a cohort, you might not have submitting options because again, if it's a cohort page, you probably won't need to submit anything rather than a regular, this is going to drive me wild.
Oh, okay. So I shouldn't be worried that you don't have a submit part.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So again, like if you're in a cohort, so that would be sort of like a community space for your colleagues and for your instructors. That would be something that you probably won't need to submit anything for, but for an actual course where you have, like assignments, then you would be doing that. And you would have that option in the side menu. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry, no worries. So Nicola, sorry, I did see that you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think I actually figured it out because I have a family Microsoft 365 account already. So
Okay.
I have access to all the Microsoft tools and things. And I'm just like, I don't really want another email.
Yeah,
But
fair enough.
like I need to have it just so that I can be on the same team as everybody at UBC.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, because you will be accessing Teams in the same way that you're accessing the rest of stuff at UBC through either your CWL or your student email, in order to get access to those Teams, you will need to be logged in with your student account.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
No worries.
Yep.
Okay, so we had a few more questions. I saw Andrew's has been answered. Yes, unfortunately, Adobe Creative Cloud is not available for students. I am sorry about that. I don't make the rules.
But we do have a space where you can access those applications, right?
Yes,
And then
yeah.
start building.
That's a great point. In the Neville Scarf building, if you're on campus in Vancouver, there are a couple of rooms in the basement. It's rooms 1007 and 1006, I think, Eduardo, which have some extra functionality on some of their computers. So if you are looking to use some tools that maybe you don't have access to, there are computers at UBC where you can access those tools.
And another thing, we had a question by Brittany, which I think is relevant because she was having some issues logging in with her CWL and wanted to know how can I change the password or request like a change. So that's something you would do with IT normally, that we saw in the beginning of the presentation. So remember, every time you have a technical issue, contact IT, or you can also contact Lte Hub.
Yeah, with resetting your password, you can definitely get in touch with IT, but you can do it through the portal. I think, though, that you do have to have either two-step verification or a set of recovery questions enabled already. So in the event that maybe, for example, you're trying to reset your password and it's trying to send you like a verification code to your email, but you can't access your email because you haven't got your CWL password, that would be when you would get in touch with IT. But if you are able to get that verification code, you can just do it yourself. I hope that helps. Okay. Yes, so Gia asked, can we use the MS Outlook email app to manage our UBC student email? Yes, you absolutely can. So if you have an account, a student mail account, all of that is done through Outlook. So if you're using the Outlook app, whether it's on your desktop or if you have it on a phone, you can definitely add your UBC email to that. Oh, an error message. Ooh. Okay, student.
I think that issue can also be
dealt with by IT.
With IT. So you can go into the form that we shared today, and I'll put the link right now again in case you missed it. And then you can submit a ticket, and you can choose a specific technology. So in this case would be email, and then you can send them this question, and they'll be happy to connect with you. They usually do it within a couple of hours.
Yes. We did get a question from Andrew about UBC Blocks. I will put the link in here now in the chat. So let's have a look at what sites I have. So depending on your course, this is what WordPress will look like. The website is blogs.ubc.ca. And when you get in there, you'll probably get to a page like this. You can create a site for yourself if you'd like. I'm already part of quite a few different blogs, but if you'd like to, you can add your site name, title, and so on, and play around with WordPress. WordPress is really fun. A lot of options for customization and setting up your coursework if you'd like to present it in that way. So yes, that's an option for sure. Okay, great. Any other questions before we move on? Or if there's anything that we've missed in the chat, please let me know. That's a really good question, Thomas. So I don't know, Eduardo, whether you know this as somebody who studied at UBC, with accessing things post-graduation. I think from memory, your student email will turn into an alumni email. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you still have access to Canvas as an alumna or alumnus?
I want to say yes. I'm pretty sure like you do get access for life for many of the things that are provided by UBC,
Yes.
but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Almost sure that it is, yes.
I would say so. I think this much the same with blogs as well. That being said, if you are concerned about losing some of the content that you've created post-graduation, UBC Blogs or just WordPress in general does have pretty flexible import and export settings so that you can export your blog and then import it into a different WordPress account if you'd like to. And we would say that too. One thing with Canvas as well, now that you've brought this up, Thomas, thank you. Thank you for making me remember that, is that when you have your materials on Canvas, usually they will be available to you for 8 weeks after the end of the term. So once you finish your classes, you do still have a bit of wiggle room at the end of the term to access your course materials. So if there's anything really crucial that you need to can have continued access to, you can download it, but do make sure that you do it before the course becomes unavailable. So at the end of the term, if you need to download any assignments with your, feedback from your instructor, or if you want, to copy some of the content for your, for your own reading, for example, please make sure that you do that. And yes, Andrew, yes, we do have policies about data retention here as well. I think so. So in terms of how long you'll have access, for sure. Yeah, that's true. Okay, were there any other questions? Is there an option to download all of the resources of a course with one click at the end of the course? It depends on the course. Some instructors will enable that function and it can be done. I would say most don't. So if there's anything in particular, I would make sure that you just take the things that you need rather than downloading the entire course. Of course, that also has some implications for intellectual property. So of course, make sure that you're not downloading stuff without the permission of your instructor. So just again, being wary that you only have a certain amount of time to access the stuff that you do need on Canvas. But if you do need to download materials, make sure that you let your instructor know as well. Okay. We'll stay here to answer a few more questions, but one thing that we would really appreciate is for the people who are left here to do a quick survey for us. It would be incredibly helpful for us to know whether this session has been useful for you. It's a really quick 3-question survey. And it's just checking whether today's session has been helpful for you. So we would really appreciate the feedback, but we will stay in this session until 11, just to field any further questions if you have them.
Thank you.
And we will stop recording now as well.